I will now call to order the January 16th, 2025 Clackamas County Board of Commissioners business meeting. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, would you please do us a favor of doing the roll call?
Yes, thank you, Chair Roberts. First, our staff support today. County Counsel Jane Vetto, Clerk to the Board Andrew Jiraki. Roll call online, Commissioner West.
I'm here.
In the room, Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Fireside.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Present.
Chair Roberts.
Here. I will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if we'd please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good morning, everyone, and nice to see everybody out there today. We're holding this meeting in person and virtually. If you've joined us via Zoom for this meeting and are interested in providing some public comment, we will prompt you regarding how to do that and when the time is right. General public comment will be taken at the usual allotted time. And Gary, first, would you please introduce the first agenda item for us?
Yes, Chair. First is the consent agenda. Andrew, would you please read the consent agenda?
Consent agenda. Item 1A, elected officials. 1, approval of previous business meeting minutes for the Board of County Commissioners. B, county administration. 1, approval of a change order with the Oregon Department of Human Services for new courthouse furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Change order value is $158,920 for 6 months. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved. C, Health, Housing, and Human Services. 1, approval of an intergovernmental revenue agreement with Washington County for shared after-hour emergency phone response services. Total agreement value is $14,315 for 2 years. Funding is through Washington County. No county general funds are involved. 2, approval of an amendment to a provider participation agreement with Care Oregon for behavioral health services, which includes 1 crisis walk-in center, peer support, and jail care. Amendment value is $7,375,936 for 1 year. Total agreement value is $14,629,082 for 2 years. Funding is the Oregon Health Plan. No county general funds are involved. Mr. Chair, that concludes the consent agenda.
And thank you. Do we have any commissioners wishing to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, if I could have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
No.
It's a second.
I defer to our newest investor.
Commissioner Fireside. So it's been moved by Commissioner Savas, seconded by Commissioner Fireside to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk, would you please do the poll?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Fireside.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye. Motion is approved, 5-0. Thank you. And next up, we have public communication. So many of you know, but testimony is limited to 3 minutes, and I'll ask that the comments obviously be respectful and courteous. As a reminder, you can also email submissions for public communication at bcc@clackamas.us. And these will be accepted as a part of the public record. I will now open the public meeting for testimony. I will take in-person testimony first. I'll ask my colleagues to please hold your comments until I've closed the public communication. Clerk, would you please moderate in person and virtually the testimony for us?
Thank you, Chair Roberts. I have a list of blue cards for those who are attending the meeting in person today and wish to speak. If you are attending the meeting in person today and would like to speak and have not yet filled out a blue card, please fill one out and deposit it in the box by the door. I will call on them in the order that I received them. First up, I have Mr. Rick Dodge of Milwaukee. Mr. Rick Dodge of Milwaukee. After Mr. Dodge will be Natalie Lutmer of Happy Valley. Rick Dodge, please come up and introduce yourself. You will have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Rick Dodge, native Oregonian living in Clackamas County. Last week, talking about sanctuary status of our state, it's news that the Lake and Riley Act has been passed, and which hopefully will take care of the issue. But my concern with that might be that will the state and the county cooperate? Okay. I didn't think I was going to be called so quickly, and I know how Commissioner Savas hates misinformation, so I need to. We all got our property tax statements here recently. And for everybody's FYI, there's two state proposals that are going on the ballot. They are HJR 6 and 8, which is a statewide property tax increase. I shouldn't say increase, it's a statewide property tax that they want to add on to what our property taxes are. And it's funny because when we get our property tax statements, you know, you get calls from friends and relatives saying, holy cow, it's getting hard to afford. And the majority party in Salem loves to tax and spend, and and the only reason I bring that up here is, please don't give them any encouragement. And another one is the kicker tax. They want to eliminate that. Now the HJR 8 is a tax on personal property and business inventory. Now I don't know what the personal property means. I don't think that's for regular citizens. But these funds are not really allocated to anything but putting into the general fund. And the trust that we would like to have is tough to come by. And so I guess I was a little. I wish I was a tad bit more prepared here today, but this is pretty normal for me. So what the heck? But the hypocrisy of the majority party in Salem who talks about housing affordability, and yet they want to do a statewide property tax, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming today.
Next up is Natalie Lutmer of Happy Valley. After will be Steve Bates. First, Lutmer, Happy Valley. Introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi there.
Good morning, Commissioners. Natalie Lutmer, Happy Valley. You might remember me from last week. I am not happy to be here again, but I felt it was important just to continue to talk about this issue until my paychecks stop being docked what I consider to be a large amount that really does affect my family's budget and the budget of many other county employees. So I'm Natalie Lutmer from Happy Valley. I'm also a Clackamas County employee. Just to recap, on Monday, December 30th at 5:16 p.m., we received an email from our benefits team that our Kaiser premium for members covered under certain union contracts would increase from $88.46 to $303.20 a month. And then once we agreed to a contract then it would go back to that $88.46. So that is an additional monthly cost of $214.75 until agreements have been reached. To make this clear, I'm not wanting to discuss any bargaining issues. That's nothing I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. I don't want to. What I am talking about is I understand there are county business needs. I absolutely do. You guys have a very difficult position. You have to make a lot of decisions. I understand that. What I'm trying to do is personalize some of these decisions you make. You know they affect people, and I know that you know they do, but I'm putting a face to one of the people that you're affecting. Not only am I a voter in this county, I'm also someone who walks by the buildings. I say hi to you. We interact. We do have to work together. When we talk about SPIRIT, I talked about it last week, it's an acronym, and two of them were integrity and trust. And another one is individual accountability. accountability, and that's accepting and demonstrating personal responsibility at the time. Commissioner West, who's virtual today, he talked last week a bit about perception, not regarding this issue, but the perception that I have regarding the timing and how we had no notice about this large amount that was now coming out. It really felt like it was a punitive action. And at that time, I was not a dues-paying member of my union because I really felt that the county would look out for me as well, that there'd be something in between, that they wouldn't come into my paycheck and take with 2 days' notice an amount that does affect my family and many other people's families here. The only people that are exempt from this would be Chair Roberts and Commissioner Fireside because you weren't part of being notified of that decision. What I am hoping for is that, it's a little too late. This money's coming out of our paychecks that we're getting tomorrow. The second half of that installment is coming out tomorrow. So I'm trying to juggle things, as I'm sure many other union members are trying to juggle their finances. $214 is significant. I hope this doesn't happen again. I hope when this is presented to you by advisors or councils that this is something to do. I hope you say, I don't want to do this. This is not something we should do to the members, the employees of the county. And remember that when you're walking into the building and you see the people in the lobby desk greeting you, those are these people that are affected by this. The people walking in the halls and the elevators that say hi, those are the people who are directly affected by this. Thank you for hearing me again today. I hope I don't have to see you next week.
All right, thank you.
Next up is Steve Bates. After will be Chris Waller. Steve Bates, please introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Chair Roberts and Commissioners, I'm Steve Bates, for the record, and I'm a 48-year resident of Boring in Clackamas County. It's been more than 7 years since I sat in this seat. I've been involved with the Vietnam War Memorial on the Oregon State Capitol Grounds project during that time. I'm proud to inform you that we dedicated that memorial on November 22nd and is now open to the public. I want to thank this body for your support for that project. Of the commissioners serving today, there are only 2 who were on the dais the last time I was here. They will tell you that Steve Bates cares about his hometown of Boring. Not much happens in Boring that I don't hear about. It was reported to me that at the last C4 meeting, government staff stated that Boring wanted public transit. This is troubling because my data says differently. Damascus has been out of TriMet district since 1988. Their choice. Boring has been out of TriMet since 2013. By state law and administrative rule, Boring and Damascus are in the urban and rural reserves for the next 37 years. We're consigned to the fact that we are rural and will be for a good long time. That is why we have rejected public transportation. The only public transportation we want are those yellow buses with the wheels that go round and round and take our kids to school. TriMet admitted that they cannot provide an urban service like public transportation to Boring because the rural roads were not built for their buses. In conclusion, the greatest majority of Boring residents do not want public transportation because it never worked before. So if this subject comes up again, please reach out so we can have a discussion. I have a lot to share with you about my hometown of Boring, but I only have 3 minutes, which are almost gone. So I will quote Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bates.
Chris Waller. After will be Grover Jeffrey Bornfield. Chris Waller, go ahead, please. You have 3 minutes. Introduce yourself.
Chris Waller, Jennings Lodge. Commissioners, thank you all for being here this morning. Thank you for doing the work that you do. I do want to address the remarks made by Commissioner Savas during the January 9th business meeting, in which he stated that my testimony regarding the fact that Chair Smith moved public testimony to the end of the business meeting 4 years ago was misinformation, and that there was no change. Chair Smith didn't change that particular aspect. This is incorrect. I've sent you all an example screen capture of an agenda from early 2021 that clearly shows that public comment occurred prior to the consent agenda at that time. This was true up until February 11th, 2021. Chair Smith made the approval to move the testimony to the end of the meeting on February 9th, 2021, as recounted in an article from the Oregonian that I also sent to you, as well as the link to the YouTube video of the meeting where this was discussed. As far as misinformation goes, I hope the commissioners can focus on addressing some of the true information misinformation that we've heard over the last few meetings on issues such as election integrity and immigration. I also reiterate my support for moving testimony on any issues actually on the agenda back to before the consent agenda is discussed. I feel that this will allow input from the public on issues that matter to them before you cast your votes, and I hope that this change can be implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Chair, can I quickly address this a little bit? So I want to thank Ms. Waller for her comments and approaching me last week and had a little bit of discussion. And I appreciate the comments, and I will say that we were both right and we were both wrong. And so I'll take responsibility for and admit my my error, so to speak. But it's actually complex. So from 2017 and back, it was consistently, public comment was the first thing on the agenda. However, the real change occurred really in 2020, starting in, as I see here, April 9th. So we didn't look at every month, but for April 9th to up to December 17th, for example, and several in between that were looked at, they actually were. Public comment was after the consent agenda. So there was the change, somewhat was made permanent, if you want to call it that, for the next 4 years. But there was a mixture of befores and afters that date back to 2020 and 2019 and so on and so forth. So just want to number one, I want to take responsibility for that. Again, I think we're both right and both wrong, and it was very educational for me to realize that those things happened. And the other thing I will highlight, as I shared with Ms. Waller last week, was look at a different month other than January, especially that January, because that January we had a lot of public testimony over the Commissioner Scholl aspect. So sometimes when we know we have special guests or people that have a hardship to attend here, we don't want them waiting in the wings for their approvals. So we, in courtesy to them, I think that's why initially that change was made, was to get that work done and then go to public comment. So Ms. Waller, I apologize for my error.
Yeah, and if I might just interject, if we could, Commissioners, if we just hold our comments to
I'll hold it. I'll make notes. Okay,
Thank
great.
you very much. It's a time right now, we want to make sure we're hearing from all of
Everybody.
you, and at the end, we'll have an opportunity for the commissioners to comment on some of the things that have been said today. So if we could continue.
Next up is Grover Jeffrey Bornfield. After will be Stephen Hunter. Grover Jeffrey Bornfield, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. Introduce yourself.
Thank you. I am Grover Jeffrey Bornefeld, a 34-year resident of Jennings Lodge, and I speak here regularly because I also participate in a lot of things. I'm on the District Advisory Committee, as is my friend who came with me. This is Anita, and we're both on the Library Board as well, so we focus on our local stuff. I want to welcome Chair Roberts and Commissioner Fireside, and for that matter, Ben West is also new to the game. And what I really want to speak to is this is the Board of County Commissioners. And about half the population of the county is unincorporated. So you are our city council, et cetera. So it's in that light. And then also all of our advisory boards advise you on particular issues. So I'm not here as an official member of that. I'm here as a resident. But I do want to speak to the importance of historic context. We have been and I'm now going to speak mostly about parks, but it started with the comprehensive plan in the 70s that clearly identified the need for, while there still was land available, to be able to get land. And so in that time period, we started down the path. It actually, in the comprehensive plan, talked about how to form a district, a special district. It did happen in 1990. And then from there, it set up 5 parks boards, one in each of the local areas, to advise for that. So we had a direct connection to the population. Well, that drifted away. And then we had zones that restricted the funding to 3 zones, one with Happy Valley in the middle, one with Milwaukee in the middle of it, and then the rest of the unincorporated that wasn't part of that. We, in 2018, requested that the board consider going back to a proportional representation. That was approved. It took us 2 years to get that done. And now we sit with the reality that Milwaukee is the only one that still has a advisory board. The rest is at will or as ever you can get communication. But what it leaves us with and doesn't get put into the historic context is, in fact, Milwaukee is about 22,000 people and they have 18 parks. The other 83,000 people have 16 parks. And they are complaining that they're not getting their next park upgraded. But the other thing I want to say is they're not willing to sign the current IGA. They are currently, you can't call it in litigation, they are appealing a judge's ruling that says if they wanted to leave the district, they'd have to follow the Oregon statutes, which says they'd have to go out to all the voters, and the voters would have to decide one way or the other. They want it to be just the city council can decide. So they've not signed the agreement. And yet, they put a lot of pressure on that they're being mistreated or not getting 18 parks for 21,000 people, 16 parks for 83,000 people, and that's all I get to say.
Thank you.
I did want to leave one thing. We are making progress, but it's ever slowly. I wanted to get that in there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is what it looks like. I'd like to leave this with, see if
Great.
it's passed to you guys.
Stephen Hunter of Wilsonville. Stephen Hunter, and next will be Christine Kennedy. Steve Hunter, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Stephen Hunter. I reside in Wilsonville. My contact information is on the comment request card. My 3 minutes today will be devoted to comments made last week by this board in regards to controlling speech and threatening censorship. I will also follow up on the topic of oaths and lastly, the threat illegal immigrants are having in this country, this state, and this county. Each of you has received a folder containing an article written by William Federer. Mr. Federer is a nationally known speaker, best-selling author, and president of AmeriSearch Incorporated, a publishing company dedicated to researching America's noble heritage. He has written extensively on the topic of oaths, including their significance in American history and the relationship to religious obligation. Don't let the weight of the folder dissuade you from reading the contents. It's in large font and a quick read. The article begins with a story by Plato in 380 BC, rather entertaining actually, then mentions Nietzsche's shocking admission and ends in America today. I want to thank Mr. Schmidt for educating me on oath-taking in Clackamas County. It appears to me that oaths are not regarded with the importance they demand. As Plato stated, human nature was such that if a person could escape accountability, they would act unjustly with selfish immorality. We currently seeing that fact played out on this board. I commend Mr. Roberts for taking his oath in a very public and grand manner, as it should be. It doesn't take a campaign genius to see that that was the first event of his re-election bid. Well played, sir. Next up is the disturbing statements made by the senior members of this board in regards to limiting citizen opinion, fact-checking in real time, and potential censorship. We all know where this is coming from, besides being a socialist premise. Let me refresh these senior members' memory. Just 4 years ago, you jumped on board with requesting the resignation of then new Commissioner, Mr. Scholl. The disinformation campaign operation against Mr. Scholl was organized by the CCDP and pushed by media lapdogs. This went on for months. Did either of you have the courtesy to ask Commissioner Scholl for his side of the story? Did either of you ask the media for their sources, context, and research? Did either of you request patience from the media or public? The hypocrisy of your comments last week was astounding. Don't think you can simply silence those you disagree with by changing rules or protocols. In my last seconds, I will address the problem of illegal immigrants and the deadly crimes they are committing. Thank you, Commissioner West, for stating the truth and standing for safety. It must have something to do with the military oath that you took. Illegal persons must be detained and deported. It's the law. Shalom.
Thank you very much.
Christine Kennedy, and after will be Chris Hawes. Christine Kennedy, come forward, please. You have 3 minutes. Introduce yourself. Thank you.
I just want to make sure everybody can hear me this week. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So my name is Christine Kennedy. I live in Lake Oswego. I raised my kids in Western Washington County, but I've been in Clackamas County for 10 years. I'm very committed to my community, and today I'm speaking as the chair of the Justice Committee for the Democratic Party of Clackamas County. Last week I presented a resolution in regards to the possible mass deportation. And I just want to say that my concern is for people and for following the law and for using our resources properly. And I know that in 2014 there was an incident where there was a federal ruling that affected a case that was brought forth in Clackamas County, and it did create some change in some fellow counties. And so I'm just asking for our county to comply with the law that's currently law in Oregon. So I think it's pretty simple. I think that certainly the issue of immigration and crime is something that we're all very concerned about. I certainly want a safe community. I have two grandchildren that live in Clackamas County, are going to elementary school in Clackamas County. And so they're watching you, all of you. They're watching us, all of us. We're the examples. So I just want to really focus on health, safety, and compassion, and using our resources wisely. So thank you, commissioners, for your attention, for having a few minutes to speak my opinions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next will be Chris Hawes. Mr. Chair, I have no blue cards after that. If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to speak and have not yet had the chance to fill out a blue card, this is your reminder to please fill out a blue card and deposit it in the box by the door. Thank you. Chris Hawes, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Roberts, Commissioners. My name is Chris Hawes. In the interest of full disclosure, I am the current board president for Clackamas Fire District 1 and the board chair for Sunrise Water Authority, but I'm not here in either of those capacities today. I'm here as a longtime resident of Clackamas County to alert you to what's going on in regards to what the Portland Water Treatment Plant is doing to the roads in East County. There's been permitted a disposal site or a storage site for the dirt. They are hauling hundreds of thousands of cubic yards. They're running them through the back roads, and their haul routes put actually most of that heavy traffic goes on Clackamas County, because once they're about a half a mile south of the site, they're on Clackamas County roads. And to paraphrase the words of the Portland Water Bureau spokesperson, when asked about the Clackamas County roads, it's not our problem. I spoke to the Multnomah County Commission last week because what they've done is in complete violation of Oregon's land use. I'm not an Oregon land use fan, but that plant should never have been permitted. It doesn't qualify. What they've done is imposed an industrial site on a little rural community, and the roads are getting destroyed out there. Those roads were never built to any sort of engineered standards. They were a dirt road that at some point they put some gravel down, and then they put a little oil and gravel over them. They got paved at some point. But you start running that kind of heavy traffic, they're blowing potholes in some of those roads. There's one on Compton Road that I drive fairly frequently that has appeared in the last few weeks that will just about yank you in the ditch if you're not ready for it. I know the residents out there have been complaining to Multnomah County, But to be honest with you, I think the Multnomah County has a complaint department and it's managed by a lady named Helen Waite. And that's basically what you could do with your complaints, is you take them to Helen Waite. Because they say, gee, that's a problem, and gee, somebody ought to do something. They've got conditions all over this permit, and nobody's monitoring the conditions. So it's affecting Clackamas County, it's affecting Multnomah County. I grew up in East Multnomah County, we're kind of used to it. East of 122nd to most of the Multnomah County Commission doesn't really exist. We're okay with crappy roads, but now they're being destroyed, and the people don't have much of a voice. I've started to get involved just because my mom still lives there, and they're talking about one-way roads that will, if my mom has a medical issue, it could seriously increase the amount of time. They don't understand that it's not closing roads in Portland where you close 127th, they can use 126th or 128th. You close 127th out there, you don't have another one until 180, whatever it is. The roads are not close, and they're getting destroyed. And frankly, the people could use some help in the weight of this commission to say something to Portland and Multnomah County about what they are doing to that community out there. Because when they're all done, we still got to drive on the roads. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is a final call. If you are attending this meeting in person and have not had the chance to fill out a blue card, please fill it out now. Seeing none, I'll now move, Chair, with your approval to online testimony. If you are attending this meeting virtually, I'll now ask you to please raise your hand, and I will call on you in the order that I see, beginning with those who have advanced registered to speak today. The first advanced registration to speak virtually today I have is from Richard Bargaleski. Apologies if that's a mispronunciation. Richard Bargaleski, if you'd like to speak, I'll have you please raise your hand. I'll allow you to speak, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Richard Bargielski. No worries on the mispronunciation. It happens all the time. I have lived in Clackamas County for 4 years. I currently reside in Oregon City. I would have preferred to be there in person today, but I had to drive my husband to work at the Canby Library this morning. I chose to speak today because I'm concerned about the trajectory of civil discourse on the Clackamas County Commission. This past November, I, along with thousands of other Clackamas County voters, voted to remove 2 incumbent commissioners whose rhetoric and political posturing did not represent the civil, moderate, bipartisan discourse that this county deserves. However, since that election, I have been deeply disappointed to learn that one of those new commissioners is under investigation for potentially serious crimes. They have not yet been indicted and deserve the benefit of the doubt for the time being, but they need to be honest and transparent with us, the voters, and should resign immediately if indicted. Until that time, they need to take this job seriously, show up, and listen to constituents. I'm pleased to see that commissioner has chosen to attend in person today. At the same time, I am also troubled by another commissioner's approach to the controversy surrounding his newly elected colleague. This commissioner has spoken confrontationally about his new colleague in public meetings. They have also made politically charged social media posts about the topic. Some of these posts stray from the new commissioner's legal controversies and attack her personality and her politics. The commissioner who made these posts has also threatened to boycott a retreat planned to improve collegiality among the new commission. I'm disappointed and disturbed by the actions of both of these commissioners at this time. Clackamas County voters rejected divisive political posturing when we voted not to return Commissioners Smith and Schultz to their jobs. While I am deeply concerned about Melissa Fireside's controversies, it is not the place of Ben West or any other commissioner to fan the flames, especially not when they veer away from professional integrity and drift into the realm of a colleague's personality or politics. It's up to us, the voters, to sort this out. Clackamas County residents don't want to have local politics held hostage by the far left or the far right. We want cooperation, bipartisanship, and integrity. I ask both Commissioners Fireside and West to please mind their oath of office, quit the games, and work together. We cannot afford more of the drama that plagued the commission the last 4 years. I have one simple request: make local politics boring again. Thank you.
It needs to be. I'm going to write that one down.
Thank you, Richard.
Next, I have Mr. Michael Weber of Milwaukee, who is registered to speak in advance. If you'd still like to speak, I'll have you please raise your hand. I'll call on you and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, Commissioners. Melissa, good to see you at the dais. I just want to echo the previous caller, well-spoken, and I share his concerns about having um, more civility and more focus on the business of the county. Specifically, Commissioner West's comments the previous Tuesday, not last Tuesday, but the week before, may play well at a Washington, D.C. job interview, but it only inflames the general passions of a portion of our population that is prone to um, acts of civil disobedience. It encourages discrimination against a minority. I appreciate the small instance of violence by someone who's not in this country legally, but there's also violence by our Portland and U.S. citizens as well. The vast majority of people who are here to work. They're here to pay taxes. They're here to mind their own business. They're not here to harm the general public. I want to tone down the rhetoric and focus in on the county business. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Those are all the names of those who have advanced registered to speak today. If you are attending this meeting virtually and have not registered to speak in advance and would like to speak, I'll now ask you to please raise your hand, and I will call on you in the order that I see. Mr. Les Poole, I see your hand. I'll allow you to speak, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. I wish I could be there in person. Several topics I was going to cover have been mentioned today. In fact, it almost would come across that I'd spoken with Chris Hawes about two subjects, one of which is the need for folks to identify themselves if they are representing an organization. I think it's very important. There's a lot of confusion about what authority or what position someone may have, or whether they're speaking strictly for themselves, which Mr. Hawes made very clear. I was going to briefly mention the treatment plant and the extended LUBA appeal. And it's really troubling because the city continues to pour millions of dollars into the project when the LUBA appeal has drug on and is more complex than anything I've seen in my 30-plus years of land use work. So I echo his message strongly. Regarding the situation with the elephant in the room, if I can use the term, the thing that makes Martha giggle and chuckle nervously in the background, and that's the fact that we've got 2021-2. And what I mean by that is here we are 4 years later with a much more serious and far more impactful situation with an incoming commissioner. But we have the very people who are on camera. I'll just keep it friendly and say going completely nuts and over the top on Mr. Scholl. And today the same folks are in here and they're tiptoeing around. And it's unfortunate we're where we're at. I'm just concerned about Melissa's conduct since there was a search of her home. And frankly, I don't think she campaigned about what she was really going to do or where she was really coming from. So I didn't vote for her. But I must say that the election was very close, and it just shows that there's a divided county. I want to close with a quick question, and this needs an answer. is the Budget Committee not consisting of 5 volunteers and the 5 commissioners? And from what I understand, it's ongoing. So here we have a situation where if Melissa is indicted or if there is more information out, she may be required or asked to resign from that committee. The bar for committee appointments was established when Mr. Scholl was under fire 4 years ago. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I know you folks are in a difficult situation because this whole situation is not what you were elected to do, and we respect that. Thank you.
Thank you, Les.
If you are attending virtually and would like to speak, have you please raise your hand. This is the final opportunity if you are attending virtually to raise your hand, and I will call on you to speak. I see nobody else for public communication, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, this is the opportunity I value very much of hearing public comment, and it's amazing to hear the number of issues and concerns that people have. And now is really kind of the time to let my colleagues here comment, and thank you very much for kind of holding your comment. I know a lot of times it's hard to hold it, but we want to listen to all of you. And as I'll continue to say, we value what you have to say. We're listening, we're to have staff, and we work on a lot of the issues. So I have a light on from Commissioner Savas, so you have the floor there.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I just want to mention to, and good to see you again, Mr. Bates. Appreciate that, and I do remember when that conversation with TriMet was occurring, and I would love to sit down with you and kind of inform you what's taking place. You may or may not realize that lots changed since that period of time. 2010, 11, I think, is when you were in that effort. HB 2017 passed, and employees all around the state, any employee that has a paycheck being paid in Oregon is having a withdrawal for transit services. And there are a number of people since this time that have said, I'm paying for something and I'm not getting it in areas where there is no service. So the paradigm's not completely changed, it's slightly different. It's a conversation that's to be happening at the state level in the public transportation the transportation package. But we have heard from some people feel if I'm paying for it, I want the service. So I'm happy to sit down with you and just get up to speed and just share with what I'm hearing as well. So, and thank you for your comments. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Schrader?
Yeah, thanks for coming. I just want to say hello to Mr. Bates to start with, because you've done a great job with the veterans work, and we've known each other a long time, and you've been the mainstay of Boring, Oregon. I'm well aware of that. It's nice to see you and your wife here, and I'm glad you're still involved, and thank you so much for what you did for the war that we experienced, Vietnam War, for those veterans. So I just want to, you deserve it. You deserve a hand for that. Thank you. Come on. Yeah, and a couple of things I want to say. Oh, thanks, Les. Yes. Let me put it this way. I take this job seriously. I don't necessarily take myself seriously. Okay? That's just the bottom line. You have to approach this kind of a job with a sense of humor, or it'll drive you up the wall. And so I want to let you know if I seem as if it's all about me, just saying, well, it's the job. Second of all, okay, I'm going to say some things. First of all, I work with the folks I'm elected to work with. I've been friends with Commissioner Savas. I'm friends with Commissioner Fireside. I'm friends with you, Commissioner Roberts. We've gone back a long, long time in years. And I will do everything I can in my power to help this board move forward. And also, I'm friends with Commissioner West, which sometimes gets problematic with some people, because I do keep trying to tell him to knock it off, okay? But he's a good commissioner, particularly when it comes to recovery centers and public health. And I do work with him to say, hey, don't keep painting people with a broad brush, not a good idea. So we get along well, too. So, but that brings me to Commissioner Smith, Chair Smith, and Commissioner Scholl. I have a very friendly and warm relationship with Chair Smith. We just had lunch the other day. I wish her well. She's become a friend. And also, I always respected Commissioner Scholl's military piece, okay? And he had a very rough start. We have a commissioner here who's having a bit of a rough start. I say we give everybody the grace to succeed. I don't care what party you are. I just don't care about that anymore. When I said it's not left, not right, but forward, I meant it. That's really how I feel about it. So what I learned about Commissioner Scholl is that he's diligent, he's smart, and he did a very good job when he stuck to really the logical issues and the ground stuff that we have to do as commissioners. I know that Commissioner Fireside is extremely bright. I've heard that numerous times, and I'm going to welcome her input as she comes here, and Craig and I have worked. And of course, Commissioner Savas, you've been the guru of transportation for so long, we can't do it without you. So listen, that's how I'm going to approach this job. I really believe that we need to start bridging our divides because we're all Americans, we're all citizens of Oregon. And I'm going to let you know what I'm reading right now. Not that you're really interested, but I got the podium. There is a book called Bowling Alone by Roger Putnam. He was a Rutgers University professor. Yeah, it's kind of intellectual, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that he described was the breakdown of our, what they call civil society, and that means you guys, that means you guys, that means all of you. And the bottom line is, when COVID and all this isolation that we've been dealing with has really broken down those personal ties to people where you bridge your gaps. And that's how I approach this, is personal ties. Personal people who I'm friends with, and if they have political things that I don't agree with, or they don't, I just go at it. And it's one of the values I would say that it's important to have, and that is the value of, interestingly enough, a lot of people don't get this, hospitality. All right, I will welcome my colleagues. I've welcomed my previous colleagues. I'm in contact with both of them. I always respected the value that they brought to the job. I will tell you, Commissioner Smith had a major heart attack during this, and I've never seen anybody just with the force of will recover so quickly, okay? And so what I'm saying is, could we just give everybody a chance to succeed? Come on. I'm tired of this nonsense. I welcome my two new colleagues, and I will work with them. They may not politically agree with you, but oh well. That's the hand we're dealt, and we have to make this county work. And I'm going to end by saying, always remember that potholes are not partisan, okay? So let's get to work, folks. Happy New Year. I'm glad to see you guys here, and I'm glad to see all you guys out here giving us what for. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Martha. And just a couple quick comments. Once again, I want to reiterate the fact that I very much appreciate everybody taking the time to come here. I know everybody has busy schedules, and want to just let you know I value what you have to say and want to make this time very important for all of us to be listening diligently. I'm going to follow up a little bit on Martha. Big thanks to Steve for the Veterans Memorial. I'm going to thank all veterans. I just can't say enough for people that serve our country and the sacrifice they make. It means a lot to me, and it also means a lot to me that we're recognizing those veterans. So thank you very much. Chris Waller, just a quick follow-up. You know, we've had discussions. We are moving the public testimony up front. Hopefully we'll start next week. So we are listening. The next issue I kind of want to just highlight, and that is kind of some of the immigration questions that go on. And the laws are very specific, and this is where we might rely on county council to kind of just do an update on some of the legal issues regarding it. I'm actually still connected to the Oregon State Sheriff's Association. They put out information about really the latest and updated laws regarding that, of what we can and cannot do, and the civil liability if you go outside the scope of those. So I think it's very kind of important for us to know the boundaries of the law, what local and agencies can actually do. I did want to say quickly, my commitment to all of you really is to continue to listen, to follow up on the issues that you bring forward. My commitment is to work hard with my colleagues. I appreciate what Martha has to say. I'm going to continue to work hard to do strategic planning, to bring us together, to have a central focus on measurable goals and outcomes. And my philosophy has always been this, is it's much harder to work together as a team, but the outcomes are much better in the end. And so that team includes the community, the Board of County Commissioners, and really working hard together to do the very best for the citizens of this county. And I believe they expect that of us. So my commitment is to continue to work hard to bring us all together and make sure that we're moving forward in what I consider a sense of urgency, because there's a lot of business that needs done. So with that, I'll now close the public communication portion of this meeting and move it over to Gary. What is next, sir?
Thank you, Chair. Next is County Administrator update. I'm going to skip today because several of you have to leave in 6 minutes, so we'll move forward.
Thank you. All right. Now the closing thing, which we've touched a little bit, is time for Commissioner communication. Do any of my colleagues have anything they want to add that they didn't have the chance to?
I don't. I've spoke my piece, but Commissioner Fireside, I would welcome hearing from you.
Yeah, I'll just keep it short because I know Commissioner Savas has a hard stop. This week I had the opportunity to meet with Here Together and PMAR to discuss the future remodeling of the SHS tax. So I'm really looking forward to continuing those conversations along with my colleagues. I also met with a couple of our policy advisors to understand more where the commissioners are at and how we can collaborate and work forward on the revisions that are coming down from Metro. And then I'll just close with tomorrow I'm meeting with some constituents out at Mount Hood to talk about the issues with their CPO and all of the issues that they face out in the mountain, including STRs and a number of different issues. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
And Gary?
Commissioner West has his hand raised.
Hey, Commissioner West, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to just stick to specific policies that are really impacting the county. Been heavily engaged in the issues around the supportive housing service tax with Metro, in conversations with a number of the mayors in the region. Currently, the counties and the cities are at odds with Metro on how they want to completely restructure and change the SHS tax. Today, Metro is meeting and speaking about this. In their work session, in the next 2 meetings by the end of the month, they're going to be potentially bringing forth a new ordinance and a resolution to put something to the ballot for the voters. They want to change and reduce the rate at which individuals and businesses are taxed. There is still some questions about who is going to have that reduction, how the reduction is going to happen, and then we don't even have the forecast yet on what that looks like. The funding, the ones that we have seen by previous ideas, has really traumatized and devastated our ability to carry out services. And so Lynn Peterson and the business community and Here Together and the special interest groups are really pushing for this reduction. We've been adamant against it, or very, very minimal reduction, because we just don't have the ability to carry out what we've already planned if that happens. The additional thing is there is a conversation to seriously increase the tax by an additional 20 years. They're talking about that today, beyond the 10 that the voters originally approved. Right now, it looks like the counties and cities are in opposition to that. There's some conversations around improving the oversight and governance structures of the SHS tax, what the H2 PAC looks like, and having conversations today even with President Peterson around that. There's some agreement. The cities and the counties do only want electeds on the governing boards, not those that receive funding like Here Together and special interest groups. Maybe they could be advisory or non-voting members of the oversight board, but the ultimate buck stops with the electeds, and we should be held accountable for the success or the lack of success of the SHS tax and the programming. And then expanding the uses for the funding is another thing there seems to be pretty good agreement on, even though we're far apart on some of the bigger issues. But this is something that we definitely need to be paying attention to. The public should be paying attention to it. And we're going to start seeing this kind of escalate and move forward over the next couple weeks. And so I've been watching that very closely. I care very much about the services that we bring to our most vulnerable populations and the ones that we're kind of needing to care for. And I think I just want to make sure that that's on top of everyone's agenda. We're all watching that closely as a board. I know we'll have further conversations. And so I know we're lacking on time. I will save the rest of my comments for next week.
Great, thank you, Commissioner.
Safe travels.
Pardon?
I just said safe travels.
Safe travels, yes. So, hearing any commissioners further comments? Kind of making sure I check with everybody. Well, on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, thank you for joining us today. If there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned.